a 60-year-old male with complaints of bilateral hearing loss and occasional episodes of vertigo shows a histopathology slide like this. Now, what can it be? Vestibular schwannoma, meningioma, epidermoid cyst, and glomus tumor. So, if you observe, your AIMS or INICET have a regular trend of asking this topic basically, which is your vestibular schwannoma. They can ask you this in numerous number of ways. This time they had asked about Antony A and Antony B areas, right? So you all know they already asked this question, Antony A and Antony B, and what are these? These are basically your crowded and less crowded areas in the histopathology slides of vestibular schwannoma. So if you see this Antony A area, it will be composed of densely packed cell with small spindle shaped nuclei, right? So what kaise aap samjhenge? In Antony A there will be densely packed cell. In Antony B it will be loosely arranged vacuolated cells. Or in Antony A, these densely packed cell contains nuclei which are called Verose bodies. So if you see this, here we have given the description that Antony A is closely packed cell with spindle shaped and densely stained nuclei that is called Verose bodies. So Verose bodies are seen in Antony A pattern, and Antony B pattern is loose cellular aggregation of vacuolated pleomorphic cell. So अगर हम ये histopathology slide पे again जाएं तो Antony A will be your denser part, right? And like this one. So Antony A is your denser part. This part is your Antony A area, and less denser part is your Antony B area, right? So it's very easy to identify, as they have given this time Antony A and Antony B. Next time they can ask you questions from vestibular schwannoma. So that is why we can discuss few important questions from the vestibular schwannoma that can be asked in your future Neetpg, right? So vestibular schwannoma, you all know it is a cerebellopontine angle tumor. The sign that you can see here on the radiology is ice cream cone appearance, right? So this appearance is called ice cream cone appearance. Ice cream cone appearance. You all know this cerebellopontine angle tumor, that is the showing you ice cream cone appearance. And what is very important for this tumor is this is the most common, you can say, or 80% of all the cerebellopontine angle tumor, right? So 80% of all the cerebellopontine tumors are vestibular schwannoma. It is benign, encapsulated, slow growing, or you can say extremely slow growing, and locally invasive tumor, right? And what else you should see is again the location of this tumor, which that is why it is called cerebellopontine, because here you can see your pons, here you can see your cerebellum, and between this cerebellum and pons your tumor is located, which is called vestibular schwannoma. Now some important questions that are related to it are here. So most common site, if they ask, is your inferior vestibular nerve. If inferior vestibular nerve is not given, then you would go for superior vestibular nerve. So I had already made a video separately for vestibular schwannoma. Here I will discuss only the small and the high yield tips or points from this topic. The link I'll provide you in the group. You can watch it in your spare time. So most important questions are, inferior vestibular schwannoma is the most common site. Again, in future, what they can ask is about neurofibromatosis too. Why? Because this time they said bilateral sensorineural hearing loss. So if you observe, your vestibular schwannoma is a unilateral tumor. Mostly it is unilateral, but if it is bilateral, then you should suspect neurofibromatosis too, right? So bilateral vestibular schwannoma is diagnostic of neurofibromatosis too, is one of the diagnostic criteria of neurofibromatosis too. And you know this neurofibromatosis thing is very, very important with regard to your exams like Neetpg and INICET. It originates from the Schwann cells of inferior or superior vestibular nerve at a very important zone called Obsteiner-Redlich zone. What is it called? Obsteiner-Redlich zone, which lies in the peripheral myelin. The gene that is responsible is Merlin, right? So it occurs due to mutation in a gene located on chromosome 22q12. Clinical features पे आते हैं, right? So थोड़ा सा discuss करेंगे very fast. The age, the most common age group is 40 to 60 years, and when it is seen bilaterally associated with neurofibromatosis, it is seen in relatively younger population, that is in 20 to 30 years. Both sexes are affected equally, and 90% of cases are unilateral, bilateral in NF2. So अगर हम अपने क्वेश्चन को देखें, उसमें बोला था 60-year-old male, right? So 60-year-old male का मतलब है कि most common age is around 40 to 60 year, and sex का कोई importance नहीं था because it is seen in both the sexes equally. 90% cases are unilateral, bilateral, you should suspect a neurofibromatosis too. Now the thing is how the tumor progresses is responsible for how the patient presents to you. Means at what stage. As the tumor grows, it involves more cranial nerves, and thus you will get more symptoms. Like if you see this tumor arises from the vestibular nerves, which is located in the internal acoustic meatus or the internal auditory canal. Now, as the tumor grows, it reaches the cerebellopontine angle, eroding and widening the internal auditory canal. So, जैसे जैसे tumor बढ़ रहा है, जैसे जैसे cone से tumor बढ़ रहा है, it is becoming like a ice cream, right? So, जैसे जैसे बढ़ेगा, it will keep on pressing along the nerves, the cranial nerves, and you will get symptom. Like अगर ऊपर की तरफ जा रहा है, so it will involve cranial nerve 5, which will give you the earliest sign for vestibular schwannoma, right? I will discuss it in the next slide. So earliest sign you will get due to involvement of cranial nerve 5. अगर नीचे की तरफ grow कर रहा है, then it will involve cranial nerve 9, 10 and 11, which lie in the jugular foramen. So the growth of this tumor is important because then you will know how advanced the tumor is, right? And if it is very big, it can displace the brainstem and put pressure on the cerebellum, causing raised intracranial tension and more severe disease. Now, as we were discussing about the earliest sign, we should know about the earliest symptom. So, earliest sign that you would get with the cranial nerve 5 involvement is your decreased sensation of the cornea. So, corneal sensitivity, corneal sensations will decrease due to this cranial nerve 5 involvement. And what should be the earliest symptom? As it is acute of vestibular nerve, a cochleovestibular symptoms would be the most common or the earliest. So as the tumor is arising from the internal auditory canal, the patient will present with earliest symptom would be deafness, that is sensorineural deafness and tinnitus. So कैसा sensorineural deafness होगा? It will be progressive. क्यों बढ़ रहा है? Because the tumor is also growing. So it will be progressive, unilateral, SNHL, right? Presents in 95%. Often accompanied by tinnitus, which is only present in 65% of cases. Now, एक और चीज, how you can identify कि whether this sensory neural hearing loss is associated with this or not, there would be marked difficulty in understanding speech out of proportion to the pure tone hearing loss. So जितना भी hearing loss होगा, उससे ज़्यादा आपको लगेगा कि patient को सुनने में दिक्कत है, because patient will not be able to apprehend the speech. So there will be marked difficulty in understanding speech, right? So mark this, in understanding speech, patient would be having lot more difficulties. And as we already discussed, as it grows, it will involve different cranial nerves. Like fifth को involve किया तो क्या मिलेगा? Reduced corneal sensitivity, right? और क्या मिल सकता है? Paresthesia. इस साइड, जिस भी साइड का है, उस साइड का फेस का सेंसेशन कम हो सकता है due to involvement of trigeminal nerve, this fifth cranial nerve, and this will give to the earliest sign. जैसे जैसे बढ़ेगा, cranial nerve 7 को involve करेगा, cranial nerve 9, 10 को involve करेगा, तो 9, 10 से क्या होगा? Dysphagia होगा, patient को glossopharyngeal nerve है. 10 से क्या होगा? होर्सनेस होगा, बिकॉज वेगस का ब्रांच होता है रिकरेंट लैरेंजियल नर्व एंड सुपीरियर लैरेंजियल नर्व, राइट? और पैलेटल फेरेंजियल लैरेंजियल पाल्सी. फेशियल नर्व से क्या होगा? फेशियल नर्व के इन्वॉल्वमेंट से यू विल गेट वन मोर साइन. एनीबडी ऑफ यू कैन टेल मी व्हाट इज दिस साइन? यू कैन कमेंट मी. So facial nerve involvement will result into a sign called Hits-Berger sign, which is hypostasia of the posterior meatal wall. So very important sign. Hypostasia of posterior meatal wall. When you will touch the posterior meatal wall, you will see that the patient is not having any sensation, and that is called Hits-Berger sign, right? Hits-Berger sign. Numbness of the posterior meatal wall is the Hits-Berger sign. Now, finally summarizing the most common ones from vestibular schwannoma for your NeetPg is: most common nerve, inferior vestibular nerve. Earliest symptom, progressive unilateral SNHL. Earliest cranial nerve, the sequence is 8th nerve, because it is a tumor of 8th nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve, followed by 5th nerve and followed by 7th nerve. 5th nerve will give you reduced corneal sensitivity, 7th nerve will give you Hits-Berger sign, and 8th nerve will give you progressive unilateral SNHL. Earliest presentation of the 5th nerve, we all know it is reduced corneal sensitivity. And one more important question: if the 5th nerve is involved, that means your tumor is at least 2.5 centimeter in size. Earliest presentation of 7th nerve is your Hits-Berger sign. Now finally, you know, most common, that is 80%, is your vestibular schwannoma. But what others are your CP angle tumors? So you should know that 10% is your most common, means second most common after a vestibular schwannoma is meningioma. Some might constitute congenital cholesteatoma, and then others. So 80% vestibular schwannoma, 10% meningioma, and then rest are others.